to get the thing going this morning. So anyway,
there we go. We're up.
It's us. We're here.
It's just like we stayed from Friday and did the long weekend show.
Well, I'm still wearing the same shirt and hat, so which I'm not taking off. And well, I took it off. I mean, I don't sleep in it, but I decided that the key to this whole thing is two things. By the way, he's Michael Knight. I'm New York Vinnie, and this is our show, Mikey and Vinnie. Take on the world. Monday, Wednesday, Friday at, we call it 10:10, but just tune in at 10 and leave the computer on and keep watching.
The thing is, we're doing our best. We never were good with time. And
well, you're good with time. I'm the one that's really kind of, my time is all screwed up.
Well, I'm covering for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And luckily I get my time. Geez, let me get the microphone over here so I can speak into it. My disorganization is world famous. I mean, I've been that way for years, and I'm thinking at this point in time, I'm not changing.
Forget about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I've tried several different ways, different to fix it, and it just anyway. So he's Mikey. I'm Vinny. He's in Pasadena. I'm in Seattle, and we broadcast this thing every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we're usually all over the place, but we've been really kind of concentrating because a beautiful, great, wonderful thing is happening here in Seattle. As I'm sure the people in Milwaukee and Toronto and Los Angeles would say that a beautiful, wonderful thing is happening there, but our beautiful, wonderful thing is better than their beautiful, wonderful thing.
Because we've never been there before. Seattle is going places where no Mariner has ever tread before.
Right. If you're a Star Wars fan, this has got to be, or Star Trek fan, this has got to be like right in the introduction to the show, right? To explore frontiers where no man has ever gone before. Here it is. We're going there. Well, we've been here before. We've been in the championship series, but we've never taken that first step. And last night was, as the late great John Daly would say, 1 down, 3 to go, and we continue the questioning with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Well, the scene I have in my head is that Travis Miller was told before the game, I have some good news and some bad news. And he, of course, said, what's the bad news? He says, the first pitch you throw is going to be hit for a home run. That's all I can see. But following that, the good news comes. And what's the good news? The good news is that's the last run the Toronto team is going to get, the last substantive hit that they will have, and it will be followed by 6 innings of great pitching by you. So don't be upset by the first pitch. Get it out of the way. Put it out of your mind, forget about it, and have a great game. But when that ball left the ballpark, I know that a lot of people's hearts sank and they thought, well, here we go. Because the next item on the menu was a walk. And we said, we can't go on like this. You can't give up home runs and walks back to back and expect to beat the Toronto Blue Jays. And there's some truth to that. It's also truth to the fact that when there's good news and bad news, get the bad news out of the way and enjoy the good news, because it bolstered the will of the Mariners to have that great pitching performance and to shut down the team that had extraordinary success against the Yankees, scored a lot of runs, scored them in bunches, scored 10 runs, scored 8 runs. And we were lucky that we didn't see that team last night. We may see them tonight.
Yeah. It's who knows what I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get because of the way that they had to use the bullpen on Friday night, which was, all hands on deck, everybody. But, the thing about it is that I thought that Dan Wilson and Bryce Miller and the team was prepared for something like this to happen. I mean, there had to be at least some mention, some thought of, listen, we're if something happens in this game, even if we get blown out, even if they score 10 runs in the first inning, don't get upset. It's the first game. We just had this. We played almost the equivalent of 2 games on Friday night. We're going on a day and a half rest, and we're going nuts.
And they had a terrible trip. They had a terrible trip to Toronto. The plane didn't work. It was malfunctions. They were 4 hours just waiting at the stadium. They waited 4 hours for the plane.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, again, you part of being a great manager, I think, or a good manager, is that you prepare your team. And I had to think that even though there's not a lot of guys with postseason experience on this team, their manager has postseason experience, and there's enough people around this team that have enough experience. A Sunday, don't get too bent out of shape, because
However,
because
the first hurdle that we always face is who's going to win the series. Well, 80% of the time, it's the team that wins the first game, and that's in the bag. Most important stat of this type of playoff.
Well, I just think that they were prepared for this. I mean, all of the screaming and all of the talking heads jumping up and down and saying, "Oh my God, Seattle is going to fail here. They don't have the experience. They don't have this. They don't have that." Well, they got experience. Number one. Number two, they got people that are leading them that have experience. Number three, they have, again, I think one of the most unknown baseball minds in the game, in Dan Wilson. People don't know how much this guy knows, but he knows. And he took his training under Lou Piniella. He took his training under Mike Hargrove. I mean, he took his training under people that had been to the postseason and experienced it a long time, so they know and knew what to expect. And so,
and the tools that they brought to last night's game and the victory was set right at the place setting of Polanco, Raleigh, and their pitching staff, as it had been all year. And the big bats and the big names and the hot guys came through last night. And that's something you can't always count on. The hot guys did not come through for Toronto last night. They're going to have to address why their big bats were silent. But mostly it was the pitching that silenced them.
I would say that Bryce Miller, who had a performance, Bryce was out a lot of the year. He had a great year last year, and he was on like everybody's list of emerging stars and everything like that. And then he got injured, and he wasn't the same exact pitcher this year. Last night, he looked like the pitcher he was in 2024. He looked like the guy that, his movement on his ball was great. He was working in, working out, changing speeds with ease, didn't look stressed at all. I mean, he just looked like he's a string bean up there just hurling the ball, string cheese.
Interesting guy, the way he sets the ball against his leg, especially with the split fingers.
Yeah.
And then puts it in his glove and changes it if he wants. But he always sets it as the split finger on his thigh as he gets the sign. And it's interesting delivery, unusual.
Well, there's always talk about how the Mariners pitchers tend to tip their pitches. And I think they, in some ways, sometimes they do. I think there are guys that you can somehow tell what they're going to throw, as there are on every club. There's just, pitchers are creatures of habit like everybody else. And, maybe more so, because if you take them one iota away from things are as they want them to be, they get all frustrated and all out of bent out of shape. That's why the rules are that you never talk. You don't even look at a starting pitcher, on the day that he's pitching. You can always tell, because it happens once a year when you're working in the clubhouse, that somebody comes up to the starting pitcher that day, usually a TV reporter from somewhere, and says, "Can we have a few minutes with you?" And and then you see either coach or another player or something just kind of shuffle the person off. Like, you don't do that. You don't talk to the starting pitcher on the day, but they do that so that they don't get bent out of shape.
It was a unwritten rule in the Giants clubhouse. And in, I guess you can just say, most clubhouses. And it's a funny thing to consider, because what possible connection is there between a pregame interview and your performance that day? It can't be explained in terms of any other estimate of trying to understand what a pitcher feels like when his own team won't talk to him if he's got a no-hitter going on. Where did that happen? Where do we come up with the idea that if Vinny's pitching a no-hitter and I sit next to him on the bench and say, you got a pretty good no-hitter going today, that I screw it up for him by mentioning it? Now, there's no connection between talking about a no-hitter and throwing a no-hitter, but baseball players think there is, and you can't convince them otherwise. Same thing about the old starting pitcher business with or you could just say, in AAA, I remember I sat next to the pitcher, he had a no-hitter going, I asked him how the no-hitter went, and he only made it to the 8th inning before he lost it. It was my fault. My fault for mentioning it. Well,
it was. If you mentioned
baseball.
it was. You don't mess with the baseball gods. You don't you don't tug on Superman's cape. You don't spit in the wind. You don't pull the mask off the old Lone Ranger. You don't mess around with the baseball gods. It's that simple. And if you can't abide by those rules, now some people will tell you extend that out to everybody on the bench. Some people extend it out. There's guys that will not, broadcasters that will not mention a no-hitter. Dave Niehaus was one of them, if I remember right, where he wouldn't, he would dance around it. He knew how to let you know without saying the words no-hitter or perfect game or whatever it is. I can't remember who it was. I thought it was a great job. One time I was listening to a broadcaster, and he said, well, you're going into the bottom of the 8th inning, and if you have any friends that might not be watching this game, you may want to tell them to go turn on their radios or their television sets. History could be made this afternoon here at Riverfront Stadium.
You don't want to miss the rest of this one.
Yeah, and listen, baseball is a very a game that is that the people who play it are very superstitious for the most part. They don't jump over they don't step on the chalk lines. Some, and it's not everybody. It's like in anything. There's just things you don't do. Now we see those traditions being broken more and more all the time because who knows? Damn science gets in the way of it. But I like that. I like that, Michael.
Well, I've only seen one no-hitter, Jerry Royce, pitching for the Los Angeles Dodgers, no-hit the Giants at home on a cold candlestick night. And the interesting thing was the Giants fans got into the game, got into Royce's game, cheering him.
Oh, yeah.
And following every pitch and following every out. The end result was they recognized what was happening and acknowledged that there was no hitter in place. And by cheering for the opposing pitcher, who was a Los Angeles Dodger in a Dodger uniform, against the Giants, worked for them. They just said, well, it's a cold night at Candlestick. We wanted the Giants to win. They're not going to win. But Jerry Rice has got a no-hitter going. We're witnessing it. And so we will applaud and observe, not the way maybe the Dodgers want us to acknowledge there's a no-hitter going, but we're part of the game. We're part of the action. We're part of the drama now, and we're going to be vocal about it. And that violation of baseball rules via the gods of baseball did not change Royce's outcome. He got the complete game, and he got the no-hitter. And it's the only one I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen one on television either, for that matter.
Yeah, I've seen let's see. I've seen a couple, well, more than a couple. I've seen a bunch of them on television, starting with Jim Bunning in 1964, Father's Day in 1964. I'll never forget it. You know, we're sitting there, my father and I were sitting there on a Sunday watching, the Mets, and I'm, and he's, the announcers aren't saying anything, but my father's saying, "Damn it, he's got to know hit," and I had to wait till after the game to find out exactly what a perfect game was, and what Jim Bunning had actually done, and it really didn't have that much of an effect on me because I was 9 years old. So you don't. But as you go and get older, and you start to think about what you saw, or people tell you, or you talk to people who were there, or whatever, you realize you broke in a pretty good way. And then I was lucky enough to see it in person, a no-hitter by Nolan Ryan. In his last no-hitter, which was at the Oakland Coliseum. And it was a great, it was one of those things where, you talk about the baseball gods and friends of mine, you probably know them, Mary and Annie from the Great American Music Hall had some tickets. They said, come on, the night before. And I got sick before the game. So I said, all right, well, why don't we'll switch it off. I guess they had season tickets. They said, all right, we'll take somebody else today. We'll take you tomorrow night.
Wow.
And they had nice seats too. They were down all the way down on the first base side. And sure enough, lo and behold, man, Nolan Ryan just, and I'm trying to keep, Annie and Mary quiet, not talking about a no-hitter. And I'm saying, no, you want to see him. The A's are good, and the A's but you want to see Nolan Ryan pitch a no-hitter. You want to be there for an event that's only happened 8 times before in history. So you want this guy to and the crowd at the Oakland Coliseum was very nice.
Yeah.
And I was also there for Santana's, not there, but I was watching on TV for Santana's no-hitter for the Mets. And again, a franchise that hadn't had a no-hitter.
Right.
So it was, I love him. But Bryce Miller luckily got that stigma of should the pitcher take him out? He got it out of the way in one pitch.
Yep.
Boom.
And it's fascinating that was the offense for the Blue Jays that night. It was essentially all they had. And it's impossible to believe that the first pitch of the first inning is all you got to play with for that night in a playoff game where the victory is vital to your continuation and your success in the series. Just an amazing night. And win that first game, baby. Win is the final advice I have to give to the Mariners, but win that damn first game. And even if it's on the road, that's no problem. Get out there and win that first game. It changes the percentages of the outcome of the series in your favor by about 80%.
He looked comfortable out there. I mean, he didn't look, he's one of those guys. And, I'm not going to say that I watched every one of his starts or, I didn't follow the team to that degree where I was watching everybody starts like I would if I was covering the team. but he just looked nonplussed on the mound. You know, he just looked like he was up there. Nothing was shaking him. He just looked like a kid having a good time, and he was. I mean, you know, when certainly you're under pressure in a 1-0 game, but the Mariners, I think, believe that somebody on that lineup is going to come through for them. Somebody in that lineup is going to start a fire, has the spark that's going to get them going. You don't know when it's going to come, obviously. You don't know. But with the quality of hitters that they have on that team and the aggressive way that they play, putting the game in motion at times. They don't do it all the time, but, you know, Danny's not afraid to have somebody bunt. He's not afraid to sacrifice the runners over. He's not afraid of using the suicide squeeze or the safety squeeze or any kind of squeeze. He can use to squeeze a run out. So, kudos to him. Kudos to them. I hope that, the bad thing about it was, I guess, that I think I got a little bored with the game last night because it was so anticlimactic to Friday night. It was like, well, okay. Oh, man.
Plus, I don't think we can appreciate how much a 15-inning game takes out of a team, of a player, changes their rest, changes the clock. They're not getting home in time to rest up for the trip to Toronto. It changed everything, and it was a damn long game. And there was, as one-sided as last night's game was in terms of what we saw and the offense from the teams, there was no way to know how the 15-inning game was going to end. There was no indication that somebody had the edge. It was just a fascinating, wonderful thing to behold. Extra innings. We're going to play till somebody wins. How long does that take? I can't tell you. Nobody knows. We're just going to play till somebody wins.
Well, it's got to be funny too, for them and for people. And this is where it bothers me a little bit because they play the game different in the postseason than they play it in the regular season. And that bothers me. They don't use the runner at second base. They're smart enough to not mess up the game in the postseason. And I wonder how much that changes the strategy of the managers and how much it, because you're not, you have to anticipate that you're going to be out there for a longer amount of time. When you have that runner on second, a single gets them home usually. And you win the game. Here, if you got a runner on second, a single probably isn't going to get him home.
Well, they don't call them singles for the Mariners. They call them Polancos.
Well, that's the other thing is that
what we need here is a Polanco.
Yeah, you have a guy who is getting everything or giving everything that they expected out of him. They kept him. They signed a deal with him. They kept him around. I think he was eligible to go. Before the season, or maybe it was last year. I forget when. But they kept him around. He could, because they saw him as a really solid piece of this team, and they wanted to be, they felt that they were strong up the middle. And we know for a team to be successful, how many times have we talked about this? That you have to be strong up the middle. Your catcher, your pitcher, obviously, but your second baseman, your shortstop, your center fielder, all have to be that defensive spine of your team.
Yes.
And so they didn't want to mess with success. They were getting good numbers out of the middle, weren't greatest numbers, and they had Cal, who was running the 10. They just didn't want to mess with that, and that's one of the smartest moves that they made. because their core up the middle is as good as I think anybody in baseball.
And the Fox team, or the TBS team, I can't remember what night it
I
was
think
on.
it was Fox last night.
Gave Cal credit for calming Miller down, going out, stopping the game. Said, forget about that home run. Forget about what just happened. We've got a long way to go. Here's what we're going to do for this batter. We're going to start with your knuckle curve. You're leading with a fast with a change, and it's going to be beautiful. Let me call these pitches, and we'll beat these guys.
Yeah.
I don't know what he said to him, but he calmed him down and got good credit for that.
Well, that's a catcher's trick, and it's also a trick that the Mariner fans have seen before. I think I did the show on Saturday morning. I wound up talking about baseball, but when they talked to me, you can't watch a game like that and not talk about it, But we've seen that, Pinelli used to do that. He did that very famously in the ALCS in 2001.
Into the mound.
Where he came out of Mike Cameron had gotten on first base. And Pinella actually came out of the dugout, called timeout, came out of the dugout and called him over. And was standing there talking to him for a minute, pointing and, when do you ever see that? A manager coming out and talking to a runner, in the middle of an inning. But he was trying to change the flow, the dynamic, or whatever it is you want to call it, of the game. He was trying to put something in the minds of the other team. He was playing mojo, voodoo. And I think it worked. Michael. I was very happy.
Lou knows his voodoo.
Well, Michael, if the guy with the butt plug T-shirt would have worked, if they would have lost, and that guy would have got his wish, his mojo, I think I might not have watched the rest of the games. Did you see that guy?
Yeah.
The butt plug guy?
It's a Canadian thing. We don't understand.
Is it? I thought the Canadians were very calm and very nice people,
Well, I think we can guarantee for the most part that they are. But baseball does strange things when we put together our outfit for the game.
I was wondering, I was trying to figure out, and I don't know, maybe you're more worldly or something, I don't know. Would he have gotten into a stadium in the United States with that shirt? Because it's specifically in the code of fan conduct at Safeco Field. At T-Mobile, that if you wear something that's offensive,
it has to be removed. You are removed with the shirt. Well, they don't ask you to take the shirt off or buy another T-shirt.
Yeah, I think they give you that option of buying like a $79 T-shirt, or or taking the shirt off. And I guess you might have been able to just sit there with no shirt on, but that would have been. Although I think that would have been more interesting, to be honest with you, and created more of a diversion.
Well, if he's got tickets for the whole series, he has to decide what to wear tonight.
Yeah, what's he showing up with this afternoon? Whips and chains or something? Or
game time is 4:00, right?
It's 1:00, I believe. 2:03. Excuse me, 2:03 our time. So it's kind of a drag, but I suspect that there won't be much production in the Northwest. This fine.
Get your stuff done this morning if you have
Columbus Day. At least the kids are out of school, right? They still give the kids a day off on Columbus Day, right? They haven't changed that yet.
Yeah, I think they have.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody gets a day off in California on Columbus Day. Tip the banks.
So, it's Logan Gilbert and that kid that what did he have, a no hitter when he was out, or close to a no hitter back in the series before this one, Savage, and he's supposed to be a good kid and a good pitcher. Haven't seen him. Yeah, he struck out 11 in his last appearance.
What I want to see is situational hitting. The Blue Jays proved last night that one run is not enough to beat anybody. Yeah. So I don't want the Mariners putting up one run and think that they got an opportunity here. We're going to need to produce some runs, and that's going to hold for the Dodgers and the Brewers as well. The postseason is a time for achievement, and we got to put together some hits. We've been really good about scoring the important runs when there are few opportunities. But I think I'm thinking of a more wide open game today in terms of scoring. And this will be a test of the Mariners' ability to hit in situations and make those runs count. Bring them in. Hit the damn ball. There is no other way.
Yeah, I mean, you got to score at least one run to win, right? If you don't score, somebody's got to score a run. But I think that I don't know. I'm trying to figure out, because there's so much of the stat stuff that you just throw out the window in the postseason. I don't think you can be a stat person and look at stats and predict what's going to happen in the postseason. I just don't, because people rise, they fall, they pucker, they unpucker. There's all different things that go on in the minds of baseball players when the postseason arrives. They change, their personalities change, their manner of. The only thing that usually doesn't change that I noticed is preparation. They still prepare. If a player has, 2 Costco chickens before the game, he'll eat those 2 Costco chickens. If they got to fly to Kuala Lumpur to get them, they will.
Who was the chicken guy? Wade Boggs, remember?
Wade Boggs, yeah, fried chicken. Yeah, he used to have his fried chicken. And before he continued that with Tampa Bay, right?
Wherever he went, he had the same pregame diet. Produced his ability to get hits. Undoubtedly, in his mind, he was completely convinced that the back of his entire career had been built on chicken wings.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, it's a known fact. It's just that other pitchers, other third basemen, other people don't let people onto it. They don't tell people about it. But the reality is, everybody has to have a bowl of fried chicken. Now, if you told me that Ezel's, the famous fried chicken from up here, would give you some kind of magical powers before a game, I would buy that. That stuff is that's a chicken with some mojo in it. If you were telling me Kentucky Fried Chicken, I would say I would call you a liar and leave you. But there's something about the mojo. There's something about Ezel's that has a little something going on in that chicken, and I don't know. I don't want to know what it is. I made manicotti last night. I made a good manicotti, and because it's an Italian weekend, so I have to stick with the Italian.
That always works anyway. Any sensible person. I even
got my my Italian American night.
Ciao, Bella.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I don't know if it's picking it up or not, but this is my hat for the Italian American night, and I hope to get to this is turned out to be my lucky charm.
Pretty lucky hat.
Well, yeah. Although I wasn't saying that when what's his name hit the home run on the first pitch. I was saying that.
That was a bit of a shock. You have to admit, first pitch home runs in playoff games are a shock.
Well, it was because I wasn't in front of the television set when it happened. I was tending to my manigot. It was a little late coming out of the oven. I want to make sure I didn't overcook it. And then all of a sudden, I hear the voices and everything. And I'm going, well, that can't be the Mariners.
That can't be good.
It can't be good if they're that excited this early. So, well, tonight's going to be this afternoon. Again, I got to remind people it's a 2:03 start. It would be awesome if they came rolling back here with a 2-0 lead in the series, because that means that they only have to win 2 more games to get into the World Series, and it's not out of the realm of thinking of saying that they can win 2 games at home. 2 out of 3. It's it's very emotional to watch this right now, Michael. It's very emotional.
It's going to be quite an afternoon and evening because it's a doubleheader of Monday Night Football. We got Atlanta and Buffalo playing in Atlanta. Chicago visits Washington, and that's the second game. So they start at 4, and then they started the second game at 5, and there'll be a time when the playoffs and 2 football games will be on at once, theoretically.
Yeah, that'll. Well, the second game, baseball game, the Dodgers and the Brewers. I like the fact that the Brewers open up at home. So that's. I think that's a good sign because you know me, I'm all about listen to me, pilots. I'm all about a Mariners Brewers World Series, and then the Mariners just clamping down on them. And I hope that nothing happens to Bud Selig before the game.
Before you choke the life out of him.
No, just so he can watch, the and learn the lesson from all of America that, sometimes revenge takes a long time to happen, but it happens. Or mojo, or not even, I don't even want to call it revenge. I want to call it karma, the twisted finger of fate.
It's always on the move, but moving mysteriously.
A mystery is a good thing. You
don't mystery at 2 o'clock. You'll know where everyone will be at 2 o'clock today.
Yeah,
I gotta go.
I know.
You're
gonna run, so I will see you on Friday.
Wacky Wednesday.
Oh, that's right. I almost forgot about Wednesday.
That is if today's Monday. Am I right about that?
Yes, you're right about that. You kind of lose a little bit of your days. So, yeah, I will see you on Wednesday, and we'll have plenty to talk about. We didn't touch on the Seahawks today, but that's okay. They got a win yesterday across country. So I'm very happy that, it was a good sports weekend.
Have a good one, Vinny. I'll see you for a Wacky Wednesday.
Mikey, I will see you if the Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. Thinking about you, and peace, love, and Manischewitz, pal.
What a wine. See you at 2 o'clock.
All right. See you, Michael.
Bye.
All right. I'm going to stick with you for a couple of seconds here. Just I want to give you some thoughts on the game tonight and what's going on. I figured I would at least hit this. I mean, just a couple of quick notes that I made. First of all, I loved the amount of, and I know there weren't a lot of them. I mean, to get to Toronto on a day's notice is got to be an expensive proposition. But thank God we've got enough rich people that live here, or at least people that are nuts enough to spend that kind of money to get to Toronto to be there for the team. It was nice to see a contingent of Mariner fans that had gone up there and supported the team. And I'm sure the team was happy to see that as well. Sometimes, and I know this from just seeing the results of this, there's something that puts some wind in the sails of a team when they travel to a difficult destination. And I would consider now Toronto, and trying to get there from Seattle a difficult destination unless you're on the team plane. Unless you're a member of the media that's acknowledged by the team. But the Seattle media people, the people that run the media operation, learned from a master, learned from a guy named Randy Adamak, to make sure that the media, that you take care of them so that they can get there. So usually when it comes to postseason, the club loosens things up a little bit, make sure that you're okay to get there. The other thing is that I have such a spot in my heart for the fans that make that trip, because I think it means a lot to people on the team when they look into that crowd and they see a bunch of Mariner jerseys or a bunch of people holding signs, or even just the hats. Even just the hats. It's just such a boost. And I'm thinking to myself that after a game like that, a trip like that, that they had on Friday, that the adrenaline out of needs a little bit of a boost. And I think seeing a home jersey or seeing a bunch of visiting jerseys in the crowd when you're on that visiting team does a little good for your heart. One of the other things that I really it amazes me the way players keep coming through on this team. I'm so gratified to see that you pass around the thoughts and the desires of a whole region, and they carry that with them. And I think the Mariners carry that with them because the goal is bigger than anybody else's goal in the playoffs. This team has never been to a World Series. And that is a stigma, as they say in Italian. That's a stigma that has to be taken off the shoulders of this club. And I don't think you can turn hitting on and off, but maybe you can. Maybe the spirits get to you. Maybe those things that we always talk about when we're sitting there having a couple of beers or what does come through. Does start to, I don't know, start to affect the people that cheer for the guy. I don't know that it affects the players so much, but I think that fan support does. They go into they're running in the dugout and they see a bunch of people in Mariner jerseys. I think it does something for a team. I think it makes them feel accepted, wanted, in that realm. So that's the good thing about, to me, what is the thing that has so much made you feel as there's an energy between these two, this team and the fans here in Seattle. That is, I'm not going to say it's not like that in other cities, but right now, every other, most of the other cities aren't playing. And I think that, to be honest with you, in the case of the Dodgers, it can turn into apathy. It can turn into, well, call me when we get to the World Series, and then I'll get a ticket, or I'll get a pair of tickets and go to the game, and I'll be hanging out in the place that is the hippest, coolest place in town for those 3 hours. That's not. It's different than that here in Seattle. I'm also really impressed that that I always think that it was very cool that when a lot of players retired, they wound up staying here. If they came from one place and they moved here to be with the club, and they were able to stay and find a home here and raise their families here, and you got two of those guys on this team as guiding lights, as the manager and the hitting coach, and that is of course Dan Wilson and Edgar Martinez. They're local people, local guys have guided this team to the point that they are already. You can find. I saw something the other day that, and he doesn't. It doesn't count because I'm not going to call him a local guy, but Cal going and having breakfast at the Maltby Cafe. That's kind of it's kind of something that puts a little. It makes you root a little harder. When you're rooting, your butt puckers a little harder, so that you can root. And I just think that that's an added extra attraction to this team. And maybe guys push a little harder, run a little harder after a baseball. It's something that I've always thought. They're playing for the hometown team, their hometown team. They're playing for them. And I think that has to carry a little bit of weight in the minds of, I don't think it affects Toronto, but I think it affects us as fans. I think it really affects us as fans because you feel like, he's not just playing for, the Mariners, but he's also playing for Greenwood Avenue. He's also playing for Bellevue. He's also playing for North Bend. He's playing for Federal Way. He's playing for all of these different towns in this area. And you've seen him. You've seen him in the laundromat. You've seen him at the supermarket. You've seen him in those places. And it has an effect. I think it intensifies the mojo. It intensifies the mojo. So that's a couple of the things that I was thinking about as I was watching the game last night, and just the way that they were able to bust through all the cards that they were dealt on Friday night with 1 minute was an incredibly spectacular, wonderful, celebration. And then, it kind of turned belly up from there. The plane was late. This was wrong. That was wrong. They couldn't do this. They could, but they all made it work. And yeah, they gave up a home run on the first pitch. It's all right. We'll get through it. They'll get through it. They're a bunch of big guys. They can handle it. And it was nice to see, to see Cal, to see these guys go out and do what they did, and now you have a guy that's going to go today for the Blue Jays, and Yesevich, who, he's done everything they've asked him to do in the postseason. 5 1/3 innings he pitched in that Blue Jays win over the Yankees the other day. They got Max Scherzer. They got Chris Bassett. But Schneider and the Toronto Blue Jays brain trust, they go with their guy. We don't care if he's a rookie. He's 22 years old. 22 years old, I was figuring out how to boost my car so I could get it started and go to work. He's only pitched in 4 games. And he's pitched 19 and a third innings in Major League Baseball. But again, baseball is that odd game where, you know, you don't have to have this intimate knowledge of somebody. You know, you have enough scouting reports, but more important than that, there's just a certain level of I can handle this. And that's what this guy has for Toronto. And the Mariners are just saying, well, I mean, they're having to send out for tape of this guy so that they can watch that and they can see that and they can take advantage of it, hopefully. I mean, maybe not. Maybe it's one of those weird things like with the Yankees. The guy comes in and he gets over them. They haven't seen him. He baffles them. They probably don't have great scouting reports on him. They probably know what they need to know, but you're rolling the dice. And you're given, if you do win the game, and I don't think they're going to, and I'm knocking on wood that they're not going to win this game, that the Mariners are going to come back here 2-0. They'll probably dump one here. But I think that, I think I'm not as intimidated facing somebody that you've never faced before in the postseason. So that's the other piece. And, you have Scherzer. Now, why aren't they using Scherzer? Well, I guess he got roughed up a lot in September. Might be over for him. But, don't count out the salty, crusty veteran here. Maybe somebody in Toronto don't even like him. I don't know. But it will be, it'll be exciting to see this young man, go out there and get a shot. I don't want him to win. I don't want him to, but I always enjoy watching young talent come up for the first time, get into these pressure situations and how they react to 2:00, 2:03 game time. And, Miller's performance last night, besides the technical stuff, besides the stuff that you can look at paper, also I think gave this team a boost. It gave them a little something to hang on to. And when you have something to hang on to, you have an ability to get through the rough spots. So it'll be fun to watch. I don't think there's any major injuries last night. I think that it looked like everybody came through it pretty healthy. And again, it's really, besides the score of the game, there's not a lot to lose here. Because if you at the very least, you're coming back with a split on the road, and at the optimum, you're coming back 2-0, and you're going into your home ballpark, which will have to be just incredible. The atmosphere in that ballpark is going to be crazy. It's going to be, I'd like to say that you've never seen it before, but you have. The thing that you haven't seen before that I think is going to be incredible, spectacular, stupendous is the World Series. And that's why I have faith that the Mariners are going to get there, because I truly believe that it's their time. It's their time to go to the event that has eluded them for so many years. That'll be something to watch. And by the way, I'm available if you if you have an extra World Series ticket. I'd be more than available. Or you need somebody to come up and host your corporate suite, and talk baseball while the game's going on. I'm available for hire. I'm not, listen, it's a little, I know it's a little crazy, but I don't. I hope to be able to get to, in the World Series or even in this playoff series, but especially to the World Series, expect to go and be part of the I won't call it the revitalization of baseball in the Northwest, but there is a switch that's been thrown. The adversarial position between owners and fans that has existed for many years on this team has been broken. I mean, even if the Mariners, God forbid, go out and, blow the rest of the series, there's not a fan that can go out and say in this offseason, the Mariners don't spend. The Mariners didn't do this. The Mariners didn't do that. Because they have given it all that you can possibly give from a fan's perspective. And yeah, I know you're paying a lot of money to go to games. Everybody is. The complaints I hear about the price for tickets is crazy. I don't know how, but I don't know how you can say much bad about the owners. Now they're gonna have to do it consistently. They're gonna have to do it for the next couple of years at least to keep this this party going. But I can see a spot where it will be close to impossible for a while to get a ticket to a Mariners game. I could see that if this team goes and wins the World Series, Mariner games will be the place to be. Even if it's a cold night, even if you don't want to go, you'll still wind up going because your friends will be there. It'll be a place to be. And if you can get that done, this thing behind me, this USS Mariner, which I think they ought to find and bring out, but maybe not. I'm saying that as I'm thinking, maybe not. Maybe that's the past for this franchise. And that is something that this club needs so badly, is they need to have a delineation between the past and the future. They don't have the history of. They have a history of great players. They have a history of ball, but they don't have that history of going to a World Series. And if they can get to a World Series and by some grace of God win the World Series, it'll allow the team, the marketing people, the fans, it'll allow everybody who comes up with such creative ideas for their ad campaigns, for their different activities. They'll be able to say world champions. They'll be able to put a banner up that says, American League pennant. And it'll put a line in it, and it'll allow this team to now look forward instead of having to lean on the past and the great players and managers and people that they've had here. So that's going to be something worth seeing too, I think. All right. You have it coming today, 2:00, a little after 2:00. It will, I think, hopefully be a great game. And it'll be something you'll be able to tell your kids about. And what better to have in your life but something that you can tell your kids about. I remember when I was downtown in 2025 and the Mariners beat the Brewers, and oh man, maybe maybe if the Mariners win the World Series, instead of having the big rally downtown, they ought to have it on Rainier Avenue at Lowe's. I don't know. I'm weird like that. I just, people ask me, why do you dislike the Brewers? And why do you dislike? I don't dislike the Brewers so much as that I have a problem when teams leave a town and, and just leave the fans of that team in a lurch. Go give your stuff to Goodwill. You're not going to need it anymore. Go, get rid of your box of Pilots stuff because you don't have a team to root for anymore. Well, Seattle got a team to root for. It took a lot of people, a lot of hard work. I wish that Slate Gorton was here to see this. That's one of the people I was thinking about. Dave, obviously, but I wish that Senator Slate was here because he had a huge part in getting the second team, the replacement team for Seattle. And he was a baseball fan. So I hope that he's looking down from wherever politicians go after they die. I don't know. It's hard for me to believe sometimes. But anyway, I'm glad that he got there. All right. I will see you Wednesday with Michael. Thank you for sticking around with me a couple of extra minutes. I really appreciate it. Again, if you're a corporate person and, somebody that wants to hire me to come and hang out in their suite, I'd be happy to do it. Why not? Everybody else is, I want to be at one of the World Series games in your worst way. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm going to go out on a limb and get ahead of myself. This team is really something special in all of our lives. It's what baseball can do to a community. Nobody's talking about this guy versus that guy, this guy versus that guy. Right now, it's the Mariners versus the Blue Jays. It doesn't even have a Canadian-American thing about it. Now, that might get there at some point, but it doesn't even have that. It is the Mariners and the Blue Jays. No politics involved. It's a beautiful thing. All right. See you on Wednesday. Watch the game safely. Don't get tossed. Don't drive drunk, please. And we will catch up with you on Wednesday morning at 10:10, if the Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. From Michael Knight, I'm New York Vinnie. Thank you for listening to Mikey and Vinnie. And remember, peace, love, Mariner wins, and Manischewitz, baby. If Michael was here, I'm sure he'd say, what a wine. Take care, folks. See you later. Go Mariners.